Hello, Diablo II fanatics and cursed minions. Ismail Vilechair here to bring you my impressions on Project Diablo II. Perhaps it's a review. The topics I'll be covering in order after having tried the mod and played it for a couple hundred hours in Season 11 include first, the playthrough feel for some of the classes I've played through Hell. The end of like Hell, normal Lord of Destruction content, as it's called, uh, within the mod. Classes and skills, including sort of like balance changes over different ladders. Uh, then like some features of the mod, new features. Then we'll get into itemization, then endgame, and then finally the sort of the social content and options in the mod. So all of this footage you're seeing right now belongs to my Fist of Fire into Phoenix Strikes in, which was, the first character I tried out on this mod. Saw, I saw that a different Sin build had been heavily buffed this season, but the way that martial arts looked like it worked looked fun, so I thought I'd try it out. Sure enough, it is extremely fun. But so like how the playthrough felt overall, I think normal and nightmare, like the early normal through the first three acts of nightmare went quite quickly and smoothly, and then the buffs to monster difficulty, you could really feel how they were outweighing some of the buffs to player power at that point. And maybe starting in Nightmare Act 4, and then particularly the Nightmare Ancients, Throne Room, and then Bloodraven in Hell, and the Act bosses in Hell, and certain tricky mobs in Hell. Definitely, you could feel the added danger in your first playthrough, or like in an SSF style or season start style playthrough. Um, but so the experience I'm gonna be talking about is through getting this Phoenix Strikes in like pretty well, decently geared, not like GG geared, but like decently geared. Uh, Phoenix Strike about level 40, 41 now. Overcapped reses, 50 physical damage reduction percentile. Um, uh, a good amount of minus lightning res, at least 50 on gear, Infinity Merc, tanky Merc too. So like pretty well geared Phoenix Strikes in, and then like I've also got about level 80. I leveled a Druid Rabies into Maul. Maul feels really cool. Uh, Ran a Sacrifice Paladin at first with magic, natural, like non-item based aura, and then cold damage. Uh, Feels really fun to play. Feels really good. Meteor Sork. I've tried Inferno and Meteor. It's certainly strong and fast. It is a little squishy, but Meteor very good for leveling. DS Frenzy Barb, which I leveled partially with a friend, leveling a like a physical boson, going MS and Strafe. And I kind of helped him kit that out. I've leveled a Summon Druid up to like late 70s, and I'm currently working on a single player Vengeance Paladin, which is extremely fun as well. Um, yeah, so that's kind of my experience so far. Really one character into the end game, which we'll get to. But I've done some playthroughs now, and I think I can speak to what works and doesn't work about this mod. Uh, Spoiler alert, quite a bit works. So, one of the big differences I noticed, maybe one of the first ones, uh, between Lord of Destruction or Resurrected and this was the addition of melee splash. So builds that rely on, going up and whomping things. Uh, in D2R, Barb is like the slowest and most gear dependent class by far, unless you're going for to make a singer. Uh, but yeah, and this mod it doesn't really feel like you're hurting yourself by going melee. In fact, in some ways, melees have an easier time in like the end game farming content, mapping, uh, and like getting good sustain for themselves than the casters do. Um, like class balance is very it's better, it's tighter, it's not perfect, but it feels good. For instance, plus skills, like skiller charms, help everybody at a much more comparable like rate or level. Um, I don't. So far, there's very few builds. There are some builds, very specific builds, but for the most part, like getting yourself skillers for like the type of skills you use to cast to kill things, or to womp things to kill things, is really gonna help you a lot. So that feels good. And like the class balance itself feels really interesting. So for instance, caster versus melee isn't exactly the thing anymore. It's high mobility versus high survivability classes is really how I'd describe it. So like caster druids and necro gain a skill like teleport. Oh, by the way, teleport and battle orders it got nerfed a little bit. So it's a couple. It's not all buffs. Teleport, battle orders nerfed a bit, but a lot of skills buffed. Basically, in the end game, almost every skill. It's about 90% of skills can be viable as like your option for uh, like dealing damage, like deleting mobs. Which is really cool. Um, so yeah, Caster Druid, and Necro have their tele skills now, like Sork, and Teleport itself is nerfed a bit. Um, the Paladin gained a skill a bit like what's it called? It's called Joust. It's a bit like Dragonflight on the Sin. Kept charge. Sin kept their burst of speed and Dragonflight. Barb and Zon are actually the lowest mobility, quote unquote, although Frenzy now has longer duration, like the buff of Frenzy. And Zon is faster. It's getting a faster run walk in its passive tree, I believe. So, like, the difference in mobility has been tightened. Spoiler alert for itemization Enigma nerfed. You don't need Enigma. Only certain builds use it, really, which is really cool, I think. Um, some examples of like builds that work in season 11 and kill stuff. Thorns Paladin, Bone Wall Necromancer, Blood Golems and Fire Golems on Necromancer. Every skill in the Sin martial arts tree, Mind Blast, like so many things. Uh, and some of the skills will be better at single target or AoE or sustaining you through like multiple fights. But the dev team has really worked on trying to make them all viable at something, and they're almost there. They're almost there. That's really cool. So you can just kind of like pick a skill almost at random and be able to make something cool out of it. It might not be the playstyle you want. It might be a playstyle you didn't know you want, but that's really cool. And so also going with this is like season balance. So like this season, Sin is the most played class for the newly buffed Shuriken thrower, the uh, Blade Fury buff, where it like bounces now. It's a class that's very flexible in the end game at being able to do bosses and maps quite well. I'm playing Phoenix Strike. I wanted to do something elemental. It's still quite good, but not that build. Um, but like last season, for instance, season 10, Paladin had a lot of the best builds. Sacrifice was the best, one of the best ones. Charge was extremely powerful for bossing, and this season is supposedly one of the weakest, but it's not. The difference is nothing like the difference between Barbarian and Sork or like Hammered in vanilla in terms of actual power for like similar amounts of investment. Like Pally feels great to play. It's actually so far my favorite one to play. Not gonna lie. So yeah, that's kind of how the class balance and season balance overall, if you could call it that, like the rebalancing between seasons feels good. Um, More skills are usable, which is great. Yeah. Now onto the features that the mod brings in, and it's mostly good news, but it's not all good news in my opinion. Um, so some new things that are really exciting are the materials tab. Stackable materials, including gems, runes, even jewels can be kind of broken down and stacked. Um, More sort of like shift left, shift right, like ways of moving your items around quickly into the cube, out of the cube. You can hotkey gamble refresh. You can hotkey cube transmute. Um, a lot of options for getting things directly from like your shared stash or your loot materials tab directly into the cube and back. So things like making crafted items are really quick and efficient. The amount of like the ladder resets, I think, need to be mentioned as one of the features that are really cool. They've had in 4 or 5 years, I think 4 and some change years, they've had 11 ladder seasons, and they're constantly making it better, which I think is really exciting. And obviously, ladder reset, you get peaks more like 10 to 20k concurrent players rather than 1.5k, which is how it is kind of in between ladder starts. The launcher is great. It has a bunch of loot filter options integrated in that you can try out. Um, they're really nice. I haven't tried them all yet. I do want to try more, but the one I picked first has worked out so well for me. It's honestly, it's hard for me to swap. I'm just a little nervous that I'd lose some of the functions that I have on mine that I've grown so accustomed to. But yeah, loot filters in Diablo 2, amazing. Amazing. Especially considering this other feature, the default no drop is set to players 5. What that means is, if you're in a game alone, you're still gonna get loot like it's a players 5 game, which definitely kind of speeds up farming and makes certain areas more worth it to farm at the same sort of power level than they would be maybe in, Resurrected or Lod. right? Um, the offline play feels really good. Um, it contrasts positively with some newer Diablo incarnations in that there is offline play. If you're having an internet outage or whatever, um, you can still play. That is cool. One of the cons, in my opinion, is sometimes with certain skills you can suffer desync on the servers. Uh, I love charging around on the paladin. I have had to sort of reacclimate myself to how I charge. I don't just switch from charge to my other skill based on mana constraints. I do it in multiplayer at least, based on not wanting to desync. So that's a thing to be aware of. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. The other major con, like to me, and I'm going to address what I think will be the biggest con for most people as well. But the other major con to me is actually the quick cast. I'm not sure if it has to do with my software or hardware or just how it's set up in this mod, but it feels really clunky and bad, the quick cast, especially as compared to D2R, where it's extremely good and makes playing many builds feel very good. In this, I've gotten it. I've gotten my hotkeys and everything dialed into a place where it feels really comfy to play. But it has pushed me more towards physical builds than casters, because if the quick cast worked better, I'd be more inclined to try an elemental druid and really try blasting with that, or like a poison strike necromancer. But I haven't gotten around to it yet because of the quick cast issue. It has, I do generally prefer melee builds like paladin playstyle, barb playstyle stuff, but I like the others too, and yeah, so it has kind of influenced what I've ended up playing a bit. Um, the other thing I should mention is that they have added WASD functionality and controller functionality. I haven't tried these myself. I've heard from some other people that they feel quite good. Obviously, for controller, it kind of also depends on your build, though. Tends to feel better, from what I understand, on melee builds as opposed to certain caster builds. Um, Other features. Yeah. So it's time to address graphics, because I think the graphics look great and I like them a lot, but I think that for the average potential adopter, this is probably the biggest sticking point for people. Um, all the text is HD. The game plays at 60 FPS. You can easily put on motion smoothing, because so the underlying engine's playing at 28 or whatever FPS, and the game is showing you graphics in 60 FPS. The motion smoothing makes it look less choppy, and it works nicely. Uh, but yeah, if either the highly saturated color palette of the original, or the old school graphics are a problem for you, yeah, that's maybe gonna be a problem for you. But I gotta tell you, I thought it might be for me, maybe, when I started, and after a couple hours in, such ideas I'd completely forgotten. I was completely engrossed in, figuring out what mechanics do I like and dislike. So if you're kind of unsure on the fence, my recommendation would be to try it. Spend a bit of time dialing in the graphics settings. You've got a couple more graphics settings than in default, of course, and give it a couple hours and just see. You're not gonna know until you try. Is really what I think about that. So, on to the beating heart of Diablo 2. That is to say, itemization. Uh, I, if you love D2, probably itemization has a little bit to do with it. Um, so, a brief history of D2 itemization. When the game came out in 2000, unique and rare items, brown and yellow, were the kings in most item slots. Uh, and then it was about, I think, 2003 uh, when patch 1.10 came out that rune words came in and unseated things like Wind Force, Schaefer's Hammer, Grandfather, uh, not so much Shaft Stop, but many unique items from their crowns as best in slot. And since then, for the subsequent 22 years, whether in LOD or D2R, it's been mostly rune words, what does PD2 bring to the table? First off, we mentioned no drop set to player 5, so more loot overall. PD2 nerfed some of the really cracked rune words, along with some of those really cracked skills like battle orders and teleport. So, like, just being able to give yourself battle orders is still a buff. So, like, they've indirectly buffed some of the or nerfed some of the rune words. They've also directly buffed some of them. Enigma. The teleport is now blink, which means it doesn't give you the damage debuff that Historic Teleport has, but it has charges, and they take time to recharge. It's best in slot for certain builds, like Warcry Barb, I believe, but it's not best in slot for everybody. Grief. Yeah, but Grief is kind of best in slot for, I believe, a couple of poison builds now. But it's a niche item. It's not like the end-all be-all of melee damage. If you're a whirlwind barb, you don't care about grief. If you're a frenzy barb, you probably don't care about grief. If you're a rabies druid, which is quite strong in this mod, by the way, you want to get yourself a grief. Spirit nerfed. Insight and stealth nerfed. So it's not just the endgame stuff that was too OP that's been brought in line. It's other stuff. Infinity remains quite powerful. For elemental builds, getting an infinity on your merc remains extremely good. And there are certain rune words that are still best in the slot for certain build types, like Hand of Justice and Dual Dragon for that kind of paladin, still amazing. But just, you're less likely really to have rune words in the majority of your slots because they're a bit niche-er now, and they don't have the option of being upgraded by one of the new systems. So the World Stone shards. They're like Val shards in PoE. You can put them in the cube with an item, assuming it's not like a pre-made rune word, and hit the button, combine, and you'll have a 40% chance to replace your cool item with a random rare, which still could be good. Rares are good in this. But you have a 60% chance of getting like a random mod on that item. So like you thought Wind Force was cool back in 1.09. Imagine getting a 6-socket Wind Force. You thought Grandfather was dope. Imagine getting plus 20% Deadly Strike and a bunch more ED on your Grandfather, and still being able to get up to 4 sockets on it. These are the kind of like endgame GG items that you can get in this mod. So yeah, it's like grief has been kind of brought down, and now, yeah, for instance, things like Grandfather and Schaefer's Hammer are some of the best melee weapons for like physical melee damage builds, which is really cool, I think. Uh, but it's not just uniques. Uh, Rares and crafteds can often be best in slot as well. Um, Crafting yourself a safety chest can give you the physical damage reduction of like 20 or 30% physical damage reduction, like a shaft stop, and can give you like up to 200% enhanced damage. And you could still get like a couple sockets on that too. Uh, so it's like, yeah, fortitude, shaft stop. Why not both at once? So yeah, that's crafting is great as well. Um, Rares can come in really strong too. Obviously, in theory, the cap on a crafted item is higher than the cap on a rare item, but that by no means does that mean that you should not be checking rares. Rares can spawn with some really crazy stuff, and obviously, um, with the nerfs to rune words, like a well placed Fool's mod on the right base could really get you something cool. And some of the bases have been messed with a little bit. Nothing too crazy overall, but like for instance, I believe all the crossbows. I think it was season 10 that they got even 10% physical resist reduction for your enemies and faster base speed. But here in season 11, as this is being recorded in, bows and crossbows are both quite good of options. Yeah, so that's really cool. I think the proliferation of strong uniques, a lot of uniques have been buffed in this mod as well. Tyrael's Might now, as a chest, is as strong as it is rare now. Not best in a slot for everybody, but certainly strong, certainly rare. And then, so what about the endgame? This mod is pretty well known, I think, amongst people who like D2 content. It's like infamous as the endgame mod. What is the endgame then? Well, the mapping system, like the slamming system, uh, the World Stone Shard system, is quite took a page out of PoE's like book. There are these maps that you do. You find them while mapping. You get one from Anya too in like Act 5 Hell, and they can start dropping in Hell as well. But they come in different rarities. So like normal, or uncommon, I guess, blue magic, rare, unique, and they come in sort of difficulty tiers 1, 2, 3, or 4, and each tier. So like tier 1 maps are a little bit tougher than like Hell World Stone Keep, uh, for reference, and tier 2s are a bit tougher than those, and tier 3s, if you don't have like just regular Chaos Sanctuary, like well on farm, and you're not pretty built, tier 3s are going to be a little tricky for you. This is an additional difficulty slider that you have now. Being able to do tier 3 maps at the same speed that you could do, vanilla content, or as it's called in this, LOD content, right? Because it's a mod of LOD technically. And or like tier 1 maps. Like being able to do tier 3 maps at the speed that you do tier 1 maps is currently what I'm like hoping to get to on my Phoenix Strikes, and we'll see. We'll see. Uh, and the maps, they're beautiful. They are very clever in how they reuse assets. Come on in, buddy. My floofy orange son just had to get let in. And they're very rewarding. You get good drops. You can juice them up. You can increase monster density, increase base magic find, increase your XP gain. But you can also give them stats that make it harder for you, and sometimes a lot harder for you. So, like, the mini game of knowing which stats are worth it and not worth it and workable around for your build or not for these maps becomes its own little fun mini game. It's almost like its own crafting system. So that's really cool. Yeah, there's some really cool, unique maps as well that give you very particular rewards. Like, there's one for charms and skillers. There's one for jewels. There's one for I can't remember what all of them are. Oh, and there's one that's like a really juiced up cow level, which is extremely cool. Because cows, of course, functioning somewhat like ghost mobs. They drop more runes, more jewelry than normal mobs, but still drop some of the normal mob stuff too. They're not like fully ghost mobs. They're like part ghost mobby. But yeah, it's a good place to get runes. And yeah, different maps will have different like reses, really high or low. So based on your build and the damage types that you deal, you may want to stick to certain maps or like roll a different character to run some other maps. You can also obviously trade maps. We'll get to the social. But yeah, maps rock. And the bosses, there's a lot more to do with bosses. In that the maps have tiers 1 through 4. I have not done any of the tier 4 maps yet. Disclaimer, only up to tier 3 in the uniques. The boss, there's more bossing as well. It's not just Declone and Uber Tristram. Speaking of which, each of those have been changed. Uber Tristram subtly, Declone less subtly. Quite a bit, actually. And each boss basically has tiers and reward scaling differently. Well, with the exception of Uber Tristram. Uber Tristram and organ farming, basically, it's kind of the same as an original, but you're stronger, but crushing blow is weaker. Open wounds is weaker if you don't have a build that specializes in it, but it's still good, kind of. But not, I think, it feels not as necessary. I'd have to double check on that in action, but it feels not as necessary. Like, enemy respawn is, or regen is not as cracked. But yeah, Crushing Blow definitely nerfed for all the bossing, which definitely makes other kinds of builds relatively more viable. Casters, summoners. Summoners are a big thing in this. I'm just not a big summoner fan, so I haven't mentioned them that much. But if you like summoners, there's a lot of builds for you. I'm not a big fan playstyle-wise. I like clicking on things and making them explode. So you've got bosses. You've got the Uber Ancients, which is a bit like Uber Tristram in difficulty overall, but you really just need physical damage reduction and high life. Magic damage reduction, if you can get it too, I believe helps there. And instead of like overcapped resistances for Meph and Bale. But it's like the Uber Tristram in that it's one of the easier ones. And its difficulty, you slide its difficulty not through tiers, but by clicking on the little ancients and turning them gold, I believe. Picking how many you want to fight. You can fight between 1 and 3 of them. So the declone fight is a lot more involved and has phases to it than the declone fight in vanilla. It's a lot of fun. I did it on tier 0 the other day. It's supposedly the second hardest. I haven't tried Lucion yet. Okay, so and declone, you want a higher fire res cap and plenty of physical damage reduction, and lightning res as well if you can fit it into your build. Lucion, you want upped lightning res cap, a little bit of overcapped reses, or no, not a little bit of overcapped reses. That's Rathma, and he's supposedly a little easier than declone. Haven't done him yet. Sure, I'll post it when I do. Rathma is the one that a lot of people consider harder than declone. It's deadly like declone. Like there's a lot of damage and adds at certain points, and you got to kind of manage like poison, having antidote potions to deal with it. And the damage types are really coming out cold and poison, and you got to gear for both of those and get some poison length reduction. So and the phase, it has the most phases, so it's kind of the most involved of the boss fights. I haven't done that one yet either. I'll post it when I do. And yeah, so like you've got different gearing and like strategy for these different bosses. I think it's really cool. I think it's really you've got higher difficulty caps that go beyond the higher like gearability caps. So you can always basically find a challenge, which is great. And then finally, we're on to social, our last, kind of category that I can speak to. So I played through the game through the Uber Ancients and Uber Tristram, essentially SSF. I didn't do any trading. Then I got into the trade scene. Traded myself for some good martial arts skillers, which skillers really good in this. I got myself some with life on them. You can get them with FHR. Obviously, they're going to cost more if they have good secondary stats on them. The trading rocks. It's enforced honest trading. People just drop stuff on the ground to trade. Show up, say, hey, drop your stuff. If you need to make change, you ask them if that's cool. Obviously, they don't have to accept. I've had everybody accept so far. If I needed, hey, do you have change for X? And he's like, yeah, I got it. He answered by dropping the Vex, which there's kind of like a set of values you can consult of runes. Vex is worth 0.5 high runes. By dropping the Vex that I would need this change on the ground. So like, I think it's a really nice chill trading community. I'm sure the enforcement has something to do with it, and I'm sure there's like a self-selection bias there too. But it feels really good. If the timing works out, I'll do the next ladder reset with trading from the start. I cannot speak to the new loot rule options because the only multiplayer I've done was with my friend, and we just had it on free looting like in vanilla. And that felt really good. There's me as the Frenzy DS Barb and him as the physical Zon. It went really good. And we were playing cross continents and it felt good. So that's a real win. But yeah, the social overall and like the trading, it's all done on the site. So you're not competing with people like on JSP or whatever who got rich in a previous season and are gonna use that to suck up all the first round of good loot this season. You're trading with people with the stuff you got this season for the stuff they got this season in terms of value. Things that people would want enough to trade a little bit of stuff for. And there's a lot of like effectively pennies in this People want crafting materials. People want worldstone shards. People want runes. And people, of course, want GG gear. Uh, but yeah, that's overall overall summary for PD2. It's really good. It's what I'm gonna be playing going forward when I have the D2 itch, which is the main gaming itch I have. Uh, Hope to see you there. Ismail Violchair signing off.